have my Maitreya body already loaded in Blender 2.92, and I'm gonna create a cylinder so we can shape that for our nail. You're gonna wanna put 12 in the vertices, and the cap fill type, put nothing. I'm using the Maitreya body because it's most accessible and it's easier to rig. It's the same process with all of them anyways, but it's just easier for people to learn like this. So just scale it to a nail size. I have the Maitreya body in here as an OBJ, so it's just a full-on mesh. It's not a dev kit. I'm just going to model it here, and then I'm going to export it to Blender 2.79 for rigging. This is just to model it and texture and stuff. So just do your best to line it up as much as you can. Go into editing mode and then start making it smaller, more of a nail size, width and height, and rotate to like falling off the nail, falling off the finger, like how a nail would look like. Now we're going to make some loop cuts. So just grab the loop cut tool right there on the side and just make some cuts. Not too much, just like 3 or 4. I'm just using a cylinder, but you don't have to already if you already know how to use Blender and how to create things on here. You can just create your nail. This is just a starter tutorial. Now I'm just gonna grab the ends and just put it together so that I can close it like that. Make sure your cylinder is closed. You don't want the faces to be showing out. Go into modifiers and add a subdivision modifier, whatever. I put mine at 3, and that just makes it smooth, and now it looks more like a nail. When you're done modeling it, you're gonna press Control or Shift and press D, and it'll duplicate, and just put them on all the fingers and place them. And then go into UV editing, and we're going to scale these down and rotate so that we can fit every single fingernail UV onto one. Now make sure that all your nails have a material in them. Then you're going to go into the shading tab, and we're going to press Shift A to search the little menu and go to texture and press image texture. Create one, name it. Then we're going to press Shift A again and add a glossy BDSF shader. And we're going to connect that one to the surface on the material output node, and just, change it however. When you're doing this, I suggest to go into the little rendering view instead of the material preview. But I'm just going to do it like this. And then connect it how you see it here. Then click your other nails and press that same material, but press that little button next to it so that you can duplicate it to another material. It'll add another number to it. See, now that one is material 11. Go into the scene settings and make sure your render engine is on cycles like that. Before you bake, you're going to join all your nails. I already did that, but you would just press every single nail and then Control and J to join, and it'll make it all one mesh. I'm not really sure why it will come out with some black stuff on it, but just ignore it because it doesn't look like that when you upload it in World. You could always texture off in another software like Photoshop and stuff. I usually use Photoshop or Substance Painter, whatever, so you don't have to do textures here. Now I'm importing it into Blender 2.79. I'm just checking out the textures, so just don't mind this. As long as you have the UV, you don't really have to care about the texture. That's the last part I'm worried about. I'm more worried about getting it rigged on the body. So I'm just gonna press the nails and then the bones, then go down to the skinning area and make sure it says the same thing right there, meshes, and then bento hands. Make sure you rig it to the bento hands. Now I'm going into pose mode so I could check if it's rigged, if it's moving with the hands, which it is, so then we can export it out. This is my first time doing nails, so hopefully this is correct. Then press the nails and go to the decimate and make sure it's lower than 1, however you see it fit. This is just to make sure the mesh is not too much for itself to handle, because sometimes it'll be like vertices too much, abort, and it'll like crash sometimes, so you don't want that. And we're gonna go and make it smoother now. So I went to subdivision surface and I made it a little bit smoother, so now we can export it out. Export as Colada Avastar DAE. Now go back into Second Life and you're going to want to upload that mesh. It's small right now, like you can't see it, but you got to zoom in because they're tiny little nails. So we're going to change these numbers to 0. I'm not sure why it cut off my screen, but I'm basically just naming it and uploading it. I already have my Maitreya body on, so now I'm going to add the nails. And now they're on. Except for that thumb, just ignore the thumb. Just ignore it, yeah. I already saved my texture that we baked. You can do it too, just go to UV editing and export that out. And then you're just gonna put your texture in there. Your baked texture, so there you go. Now it's on there, so it looks fine. So you don't see the black parts that was on there earlier. Either way, you can edit your UV, edit your texture, and different stuff.